Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the How's Your Touch podcast, covering all things Scottish men's football. I'm Peter, and as always, I'm joined by Matt. How you doing, Matt?
Really good. Excited to be back talking about the league.
I know, yeah,
Now
first
that
week
it's
back, isn't it?
now it's actually football as opposed to just hypotheticals.
It's quite fun. The first week lived up to expectation, which is exciting. So we've got all that to chat about. I don't know before we get into that, because our beginning chit chat, which we always like to do, and that I've been told is someone's favourite part of the podcast, which is I think a backhanded compliment, to be honest. But yeah, people haven't seen it. I know Matt's been on Screamers Pod. He was doing an introduction to SWPL for all the kind of stupid English folk out there who don't pay attention. No
And this
offense.
is why we said me, not you.
Yeah, basically. Although there is some good anti-WSL bias within that if you wanted to listen to that. But yeah, how was that?
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to finally talk to them because we've
Mm-hmm.
obviously been DMing for a very long time.
Yeah, they
And
dropped into our DMs, I think. I have no idea. I don't.
I don't know. I feel like we definitely followed them first.
Yeah,
But anyway,
probably.
because we both listen to their podcast about WSL, or predominantly WSL. They do speak
Mm-hmm.
about other leagues, and it's really fun. So it's fun to get a
Yeah.
chance to
To be fair,
chat with them. And
if there's people who listen who are like me, who are like, I hate the WSL. The Screamers is an appropriate little, I don't know, put your fingers in the water, toes in the water kind of vibe, WSL. It makes it just about bearable, I would say, which is a major compliment.
yeah, I was say from you, you still listen every week. So
Yeah. Well, I listen to them. That's what I'm saying. I
maybe
can
you don't hate the
bear.
WSL as much as you say you do.
I do. And the WSL doesn't exist at the moment, so it's all about SWPL.
This is also true.
Yeah, but there's loads to get through. So we've got obviously our first game week of the SWPL 1 and SWPL 2. Lots of goals, last minute winners. Yeah, I don't know. Any further ado, unless there's anything else to add, we can just get into it. So the first game of the SWPL 1 that I want to talk about that we want to talk about because it's a duo, is Partick Thistle v Hamilton, or was it Hamilton v Thistle?
Thistle.
Hamilton
It was
Thistle.
at NDP.
Was it at NDP? Yeah, the only team from Hamilton playing in Hamilton. You know where to watch them.
Celtic.
Yeah, Celtic, the notoriously Hamilton-based club. But yeah, it was an exciting game and a proper good start to the SWPL. Two teams who are probably, I mean, we said last week Hamilton, or I was a bit harsher on Hamilton than Matt was, but spoke about them as relegation candidates. But I thought on overall of the game, it was good to see that, I'm going to say, Bobby Watson took my advice and was attacking and was kind of tried to be in the front foot and didn't try to do so much hoofball. And I think it worked for them for the most part, although obviously they did concede in the last minute and lose the game. But yeah, I
To a
think it
hoof
was
as
to a
well.
hoofball as well. That's true. Yeah, I was gonna say I was thinking about it when I was thinking about the podcast today, that maybe there's a case for defensive football there, that they could have eked out a point if they hadn't been going all for it. But no, but then on any other day, that shot goes in, doesn't get deflected, and they actually get 3 points. So I don't know. I don't know what you made of all of
Excellent.
that in general, but
I think now that we've got stats, thanks to SofaScore, who have started doing SWPL stats, so I can really continue to be the guy that brings out XG and shit.
yeah.
Um, I think it was a deserved win for Thistle in the
Mm-hmm.
end. I think over the sort of 90 minutes, they definitely were the team that were more likely to win.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that Jenny Curry makes a huge save on Lucy Barclay at some point in the second half. I can't remember what minute it was, and that could then change the game entirely. And that's not necessarily reflected by
Mm-hmm.
XG, but on XG it was 2-1, basically exactly. It was 0.81 to 1.9.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
you know, but yeah, it was definitely a lot closer than people would have thought. I think, which is good for Accies, and I think something they can take a lot of faith in is that I said I don't think they're that much worse than Part Thistle.
And you've been proven right by not only scoreline but
Yeah,
XG as well, thankfully. Yeah.
yeah, they're not. They definitely weren't blown away,
No.
which should stand them in good stead against a team that are trying to get into the top six. When you've got teams that are in the league that are just trying to stay up,
Yes,
that
I think.
aren't yourself.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
the thing. I guess that's for Hamilton to kind of. I don't know. I guess you kind of weigh up what they need to do going forward, because obviously they're tight in that game and they could have got 3 points, or they were on course to get a point.
Mhm.
Whether or not they should be trying to just pick up a point, or whether they should continue to go for all three. I mean, I would always say go for all three.
Yeah. I don't think that they lost this game because they went for all 3 points. I think they lost this game really because of some poor decision making in the final third.
Mm.
Really, probably is the thing that kills it. Is that not just on the chance that leads to the counter attack and the goal, but throughout the game there were a couple of times they had an opportunity to maybe play an extra pass or to have a shot themselves, and they made the wrong decision or they took too many
Mm-hmm.
touches. And it's a young team. It's going to happen. It's like kind of the thing that you've got to get over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's probably the thing that Thistle, I think it's notable that for Thistle's first goal, it's Joe Love.
I was going to mention that
The
Joe Love still scored in the SWPL one.
but also the pass to the halfway line for the second goal is also
Mm-hmm.
Joe Love.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that reacts quick enough to get that ball up the pitch
And
for it
sees
to then
the
be passed on
sees
to Erin Rennie.
opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she also makes that pass. Like it's not like it was an aimless lump. It was, a long ball, but it was
They call it
had a
a vertical
direction.
pass, not a long ball. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was vertical with how high it went.
Yes.
But it was accurate is the main thing. Like it's not like she was just hitting it and getting it away from goal.
Mm-hmm.
She
Mm-hmm.
was hitting it with a purpose. And her experience, I think, is the
Yeah.
difference in this game. Really, is just that Hamilton don't have that experience, and when their chances did come, it was Sophie Townsley or Erin Brown who were very young. So
Yeah.
it's
With little even just SWPL one experience as well. But I guess yeah, maybe
yeah,
saying that about Thistle from Thistle's point of view, where that kind of puts them. And obviously, the first game weeks was impossible to actually say anything of real note. But for their start to the season, is it a case of shaky boots, like that was harder than we thought against Hamilton? Is it like that was a well hard fought victory we got out of there? We got 3 points at what might prove to be a difficult away ground for a lot of folk this season.
I don't know. I think it's hard to tell because it's the first game for David Elliott. I think
Yeah, that's
that's
a
the
good point as
main
well.
thing that you're like, I don't know because it's hard to even know if that's going to be their system going forward. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is is Hannah Robinson going to be a fullback for them going forward? Are they
Yeah.
going to play with that defensive system in that formation in that style? Um, I think they need to do some finishing drills. I think Hamilton also needs to do some finishing
Yeah.
drills, but um, I don't. I think like when you hear after the game, um, Erin Rennie talking about like how David Elliott had told her to try and be more composed in those moments and to
Mm-hmm.
pass the ball into the net, and then she does, and that's how they get the goal. They had a chance earlier in the game where she smashes it and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't go in.
Yeah.
Leah Tweedy had a chance where she smashed it, goes over the bar. So I think there are signs that it's going to be an impressive season. Obviously, Friday night football against Hibs will probably tell us a bit more
Mm-hmm.
because they've typically been able to compete um, in those games. If they can't compete in those games this year,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe that's maybe a more of a warning sign than a bit of iffy finishing against Hamilton.
Yeah, but I think that's something that we
Um,
spoke about a lot last year at the same time this season is particularly with these kind of part-time clubs at the bottom of the table. Their pre-seasons are never like as complete as other clubs. So I always feel like their pre-season kind of ebbs into the first month of the season or so, and that you definitely don't see the best of them until
yeah,
more September, October time. So like as you're saying with Thistle, there are they going to continue that with that formation, that tactics, or are they still in this kind of early season, getting minutes in the legs, getting used to each other, getting used to the new manager, and same with Accies, like their preseason. It just naturally is disrupted because you can't go away for a place for a week and do a big training camp every day and all that kind of stuff. So their preseasons don't set them up to be game ready on day one, really. So it takes them a couple of weeks probably to get back to that kind of competitive match fitness, I suppose, which again makes
yeah,
it really hard to start any kind of wider analysis of it. But I guess it's just
analysis. Yeah,
yeah. So, but I guess on the game itself, an exciting game and very much like SWPL. If anyone wants to kind of pretend that it's changed at all, it's it's still
yeah.
ridiculous.
I
So,
think I think the two things I would take away most from the game. One would be excitement for Sophie Townsley because she looked unreal, so quick. And there was one moment where she was on the counter, like running faster than everyone else, up
mhm.
against Hannah Robinson, who is physical and quick. and a little bit of a foot movement, Hannah Robinson fell over her feet, and it was like, okay, this isn't someone that was doing it at a level that's lower, and they were able to do it because they were playing at that
Mhm.
level. This is someone that can do it at this level as well,
Yeah.
which is really exciting for Hamilton, but it's also really exciting for Scottish football and also Rangers fans, I guess,
Yes.
because
I was going to say
she's on
about
loan.
the Rangers youth thing. Are we going to have a Laura Berry
Mhm.
situation again where it has an incredible 6 months and then Rangers are like, well, we can use her.
We'll have her
So
back,
we'll
thanks.
have her back. Thanks for that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I think maybe not at extreme, but I think like
mhm.
definitely it's an impressive start. I think
Well, I'm
as
really
I say, there's
excited.
definitely decision making stuff
I'm really
to
excited for her to
be
be
dealt
in,
with.
yeah, back in the SWPL one and like playing every week because I think it's something that you and me said a lot last season about how excited we are by her. And obviously, you and me are in it. We're following Hamilton. We're checking up on their goals, so we know it. Whereas, like, kind of you're more not not people who do it as a kind of like thing can now see Sophie Townsley in person, which is going to be pretty
Yeah,
sweet, I think. So,
even just like on the highlight show as well, like they'll if you're sort of like casually watching your own team and then
mhm,
seeing what's happening around the league.
it's pretty good.
The other thing that I wanted to mention about this game, but this is a wider point about the whole SWPL really, is how impressed I've been with the like content from all
Oh yeah.
clubs. And I want to mention about this game because part of Thistle's sideline camera, which we stole some footage from to do a TikTok, but their sideline camera was so like the or not sideline, like pitch side, like for highlights or
hmm
alternative angle or whatever, was really good, really high quality. Kilmarnock have the same, Hibs have got the
hmm
same. You've got teams across the leagues, both leagues, big and small, providing more Twitter updates than before, doing loads more media stuff. So I've
hmm
been generally really impressed by the amount of stuff that's come out
Yeah, and it
about,
makes our job
and from
easier as
Hamilton
well.
side as well.
hmm
Yeah, but from Hamilton side as well, like there was loads of stuff, which is something that we've been like crying for ages, and we've never really it's never seemed to have changed so quickly. Like it seems like loads of clubs have sort of done it this summer, which is obviously very exciting to see. And it helps when you've got Joe Love scoring a screamer on her debut, and then a 94th minute ridiculous counter attack. That's definitely helped.
Yes.
Probably part of Thistle's vibes in terms of their highlights, but
No,
yeah,
it's good to see.
same with Accies as well. Erin Brown swears that she meant it, so I'll take her word for it.
Sure she did.
It
Sure she
looked like
did.
a cross to me, and she didn't celebrate, which also is a hallmark of that was a
That
cross.
was a cross. Yeah, well, yeah, that was a good start to it, and I guess excited to see how that kind of works out. Two teams that are maybe going to be towards the bottom end of the table, or maybe not, based off of those performances. But the other game I wanted to chat about from this week was the Hearts v Celtic game at Oriam, a game that I know a lot of Celtic fans were shitting themselves for, basically, because everyone seems to hate Oriam. I don't know. As Herrick-Watt alumnuses, I hate Oriam as well. I never liked it in the first place, but there we go.
I like Oriam.
So yeah, sure
I've
you
said
do,
it
man.
before. I used to go tours around
Yeah,
Oriam. It was great.
yeah, fair enough. Apparently, it was roasting hot, and I can imagine because it's like very open in the
Yeah,
sun kind of place.
I
But
feel like everyone could say that about every single game this weekend. I
yeah,
don't think you've not got like oh, it's so woe on us. It was so hot we couldn't compete.
yes, it looked
It's not
very,
like it's
very hot.
windy just at Links Park. It was
hmm
hot everywhere.
No, that's true. But yeah, well, anyway, Celtic Hearts, Hearts Celtic. Celtic ended up winning the game 2-1. Very much a kind of game of two halves. There we go. That's our first one of the season. But yeah, Celtic very, very good in the first half. Very kind of on the front foot, very attacking, very pressing. Balls in behind, quick, fluid, looked exciting. Went up 2-0. Could have had a couple more if for a bit better finishing stuff, a bit better kind of decision making. And then the second half, complete different kind of side to them. Seemed to be a lot more reserved, a lot more defensive. Um, Not sure if that was like purposeful or if Hearts grew into the game more. It's kind of hard to tell, really. Um, but yeah, I guess for that first goal, Morgan Cross could go. I think it's someone that we all quite like, Morgan Cross. I think she kind of gives a lot, runs a lot. Young Scottish came out through the SWPL, so it's good to see her doing well. I think last season, lots of question marks over her kind of end product, but it was a good strike for that one.
I think a lot of that was just based on where she was playing. I don't think City
Yeah, that's
really
true.
settled on a position, and her playing right wing back was nonsense when that happened. So,
That's true. That's
um,
true.
yeah, I think definitely playing out on the wing helped her quite a lot, and that it was a really good finish for her goal as well. So that's also good for her confidence and things.
No, definitely that was good. And then Nat Ross the other end again. Similar vibes, I guess, like Joe, not quite as old as Joe Love, but again, all these kind of older players still kind of scoring and showing the young guns what real football is, I suppose. Quite instinct to finish from her. But I guess that's probably the main point from this game, though, was really that kind of change in the second half for Celtic, and how Hearts grew into it from there. But I don't know. I can't quite tell. I don't know what you thought from like rewatching it back and stuff. Whether or not Hearts grew into it and therefore and Celtic couldn't handle it, or like from me, but I'm a Celtic fan. I thought it was like a purposeful move by CDQ to try and like shut up shop for the second half. But for 45 minutes, that's quite hard to do. But I don't know if you would see it as more Hearts grew into it and Celtic struggled.
I think that Eva Ollie just got it really wrong, like generally. In the first half, you had a really weird. It was an obvious tactical decision, and I don't get it from any perspective. But Shade was starting as the central nine. You had
hmm
Carly Johns and Georgia Timms playing on the wings. Both of them are more recognised strikers than they are
hmm
like wingers. And Monica Forsyth was inverting from right wing back to be in the central striker position while Shade drifted out wide.
Yeah.
It's just all it meant was that you, there was never anyone in the middle. So whenever Hearts had the ball and they went to attack, they never had like Celtic weren't defending against anything
Yeah.
because Monica Forsyth isn't a striker, doesn't have the instincts of a striker, doesn't have the control of a striker, as evidenced when the ball came in and she did get onto it
hmm
in a good position and her touch just went ballooned up in the air. So I was a little bit like, it was so obvious where it was going wrong and he just kept doing it.
Yeah.
So I don't think the first half is such a hard like thing to analyse because you look at Celtic's team and you had Lisa Robertson at left back, an
Well, yeah.
obvious weakness, really. Like
hmm
I really like Lisa Robertson as a defensive midfielder. She's probably not played left back for about nearly a decade.
No,
You
but
know,
yeah, I mean, I think
it just
she did quite
didn't
well
make
there,
sense.
but I feel
Mm.
like
She was never challenged.
Yeah, Hamilton didn't the way that Hearts tried to get down that side was very much in ways that she would be quite comfortable defending. They never tried the in behind really. They never
Mm.
tried to kind of double up on her 1-2s. They kind of tried to like take her on. And to be fair, Lisa Robertson like quite a good defensive midfielder, so you're not gonna just skin her
Yeah,
really. So
that's what I mean by like having Forsyth come central. It just doesn't make sense because you're not
mhm.
exposing the weakness on that side, which is
Yeah,
mostly just pace, physicality.
yeah.
Um, which is something that you could have done if you just played Shade on the right wing and
hmm
then played one of your two recognised strikers in the centre.
So then, what did Hearts do differently second
Um,
half then that you would say that they were better, or did they
they
just do the
went
same
they
stuff
went
but
they went to a 4-4-2, which
always works?
is interesting. Well, it's interesting because Celtic's average positions, not necessarily the lineup, the average positions essentially are a 4-4-2.
hmm
It's a weird one because Amy Gallagher is central,
Yeah, it's like
and
more
there's not
four
like
four
and
one
then
one kind of
well McEnany's then the furthest forward, but she's on the left, so
thing.
it's different when you look at the actual like when you look at the positions, it sort of means that you've got Weston and McEnany high and left, and then you've got Cross and Lawton high and right. Sort of, I think, maybe to cover for the fact that you're not going to have Lisa Robertson bombing up and down the left wing for 90 minutes
Yeah,
for obvious reasons. Mostly being that she's not a left back. I can't imagine she's going to play left back that many times this season.
no, I don't think
And
so.
if she is, then I imagine it will be a more defensive or conservative role. So you've got that like system, which means that you could keep the pressure up, which I thought was really interesting. I think Weston and McEnany and Cross and Lawton maybe got in each other's way a little bit um, at times,
hmm
but it was really good and it did work really well. And I think all like Hearts essentially just then went they put Lizzie Waldy out to left back, which helped massively because it meant that there was somebody to take them on, but it also pushed Monica Forsyth back and meant that she could no longer disrupt the attack by being this like central influence.
hmm
Because I think that was overcomplicated and unnecessary and didn't play to anyone's strengths.
No,
Um, so I think that helped. I will mention to get expected goals out again. Hearts did have 1.7 ish xg to Celtic's 0.9.
yeah, that's fair.
Excluding the penalty, Hearts still had more XG than Celtic.
Yeah, well,
So I
yeah,
think like when you say that Celtic could have scored more if not for some dodgy finishing, Hearts also
to be
probably
fair.
should have.
But that was for
Um,
Lisa Rogers having a worldy game, which is maybe something to talk about as
yeah,
well, is how good she was.
what I did want to mention is that Lisa Rogers did have a much better game than Rachel Johnson,
Hmm.
who struggled. Should have saved the Nat Ross one, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then
Should
even the
be out
Morgan
quicker to
Cross
that.
one is near post, so that's always a question mark.
Yeah.
So
Um, and I think
that.
she was let down by Hearts playing out from the back like it,
Hmm.
like it's a crime not to, because that's something that Hearts were doing all game, is that
Hmm.
they would tippy tap between each other, play it into Ailey Shore, who would have three players around her because Celtic's
Yeah.
press was really organised, and then they would go back round a bit, and then eventually someone would just launch it to no one,
Hmm.
and it
Hmm.
was constantly allowing Celtic to get back in position. So when they did eventually launch it, there was no advantage of counter attacking.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but
what I mean.
also
But
it just wasn't going well.
for Lisa Rogers and side, not only were I did think talking about playing out from the back. I thought Lisa Rogers, ball control was like incredible that game. I think the amount of times that she kind of drew
Mm.
attackers in and was very. I don't know if it's confidence or if it was like luck, but a lot of times she
Yeah.
would kind of draw the attacker in, and then at the last minute move out the way, and then it opens up the space. You kind of want to draw them in, and then some of the stage, I think particularly that save at the very very end is like genuinely a world class save. So that's as a
Yeah.
Celtic fan very
I
exciting.
do
Although,
think I do think as well Celtic were smarter about playing up from the back than they were
yeah,
last season.
yeah, yeah,
They seemed less stuck to it. They seemed like they felt like they could, or they felt more comfortable in occasionally going long or
mm-hmm.
abandoning it so that Hearts couldn't always predict it, which
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
also a benefit to them.
So yeah, well then I guess other than the goalkeepers like Lisa Rogers having a great game, was there anything else like that stood out from you stats wise? Since you've got the stats kind of all in front of you now.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we spoke about last season, but I still don't get Danica Pema. I just don't get it. Um, because it seems like she's heavily favoured by Evolid, and you would assume that that means that she'd be, one of the league's top centre backs.
Hmm.
And that's the kind of player that you would need in this game. And she's not directly responsible for either goal. And I think you could maybe make the argument that Waldy and Husband probably are as a combination. But throughout the game, her pass accuracy wasn't great.
Hmm.
She attempted 10 duels. Tackles aren't reliably recorded in SWPL, but duels are. And of the 10 that she attempted, she only won three
Yeah, not.
as a centre back. Like, that's especially with how much play was going through the side of Weston and McInerney.
Hmm.
That's a really poor record. That's the kind of record that you have if you're playing for a team that aren't going to come in the top half against the Celtic or a Rangers or a Hibs or a Hearts, etc.
I mean, she must have
So
stuff
that
about her that.
well, she's not particularly great at using her physicality. She's not that fast. Her defensive positioning, I don't think, is ideal. She lost possession 10 times. She was dribbled past once. All of that leads to having a side of your defence which is notably weaker
Hmm.
and gives teams something to push for. And I think it's exacerbated when she plays as a wide centre back in a three
Hmm.
because you end up in a situation where Husband is a 16, 17-year old,
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily have the spider senses. As I've been watching Spider Man, of knowing where the danger is.
Yeah.
She's not as aware and able to get across and cover. But then she's kind of panicking a little bit when the ball's going at Ipema.
Hmm.
Then you've got Lizzie Waldy also having to compensate for the fact that she's then not got a central centre back behind her. And I don't think it helps when Monica Forsyth's having the game that she had, where she's not really playing in a defensive role or as defensive a role as
Hmm.
we're used to seeing from Hearts at right wing back. I think there are reasons for it that you can maybe say they're missing players. The way they played into Celtic's hands. They maybe didn't expect Celtic to set up in that way because we haven't seen Weston before.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily expect McInerney to play so high up, and that's two physical players up against you that you can't really prepare for.
Hmm.
But on that game, and thinking back to last season when it was similar post split, we were very regularly having the conversation. I just think that it's an area of recruitment where Hearts get a lot of praise for their recruitment because they've got a recruitment team set up that work on it and only work on recruitment throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they've identified and what Eva Olid sees to have her be almost a guaranteed starter,
Mm.
other than the fact that if you don't start her, you're starting a 16-year-old. And like when you look at Jess Broderick going out back to Aberdeen, like that's the direct player that she's taken the
Yeah,
spot
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
essentially.
yeah. Yeah.
And something that was notable, like yes, they lost 5-1, but Aberdeen notably were good at defending its Hibs. And like it was something that before the first goal, there was a real organisation in their defence, which is made up of, 18 to 20-year-old Scottish players
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
with a goalkeeper they've never played in front of before. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
that's
No,
a
I get
harder
it.
job. So I've not been impressed in the past, and I don't know if that's maybe clouding my judgment on this game specifically because she didn't make any mistakes leading directly to a goal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Essentially, I'm not. Wouldn't I would? I mean, the stats maybe make it sound a lot worse than it was. Like, I don't know if it was like notably she's having a mare here.
I mean, while I was watching, I think I was very much like, especially when in the first half, I think it was very clear that Celtic had a bit of a right. We're going to her
Yeah,
because
I mean, I think
you know
Celtic in the first half, yeah, were cut through Hearts' defence quite easily, especially at the counter attack and stuff. Um, but it was, I don't know, it didn't seem as if she was like missing tackles. It didn't seem as if she was like getting, it just seemed like she got caught out maybe. But I don't know, as you say, it's early season, you know, we'll see if she gets better.
yeah.
But I do agree with that sentiment of like, that recruitment of her instead of retaining like Jess Broderick is like what is the what
Right.
have they been seeing? Because I'm like I don't doubt that they've seen something. They definitely will have
Mhm.
whatever, all the information, all the scout reports, all the like analysis in front of them that they'll go, we like her more. But on the pitch, it's not something that I guess is neutral-ish
Right.
watchers that we're
That's
seeing.
what I mean is that like I think that in this she doesn't cost them the points in this game. They don't win or lose this game based on her. But I do think that it put them under a lot more pressure in the first half, which then is
Yeah,
one of the reasons, not the entire reason, but one of the reasons why the first half system didn't work
yeah,
defensively. It also didn't work offensively, so it's not as I say, it's not on her.
hmm hmm
Um, but it's a player that stood out as looking a little bit out at sea. I
hmm
think Rachel Johnson also looked a little bit out at sea. She'd make a single save. Like that's
yeah. Ray Sean
you
didn't have a
know,
great game. That's
if
true.
you're not if you're not recording a save in the stats, then that's a worry.
Hmm.
If you're a keeper, it's not like as a Celtic created less than one xG. It's not like they were
Well, especially when they brought in keepers. They brought in a keeper from
flying.
abroad, like so they've clearly identified.
Yeah,
Obviously, they lost. I think CPS is left, isn't she? Um,
yeah, she's gone. I don't know if it's been announced, so I don't know if I want to say it.
okay,
She's gone down to England.
fair enough. Okay, we'll keep your eye out. That's not been. I don't know if that has been announced. Anyway, um, across the
If
SWPL one,
Chelsea next week announce
yeah.
CPS would be hilarious.
But across the SWPL one, there were some other games to kind of note. Gladys City got off to a good start, beating Motherwell 3-0. Um, good strong results, especially against Motherwell, top six team last season. Um, so strong start from them. You had, as mentioned there, Hibs beat Aberdeen 5-1. So another good strong start from the champions. Getting out there, picking up where they left
I'd
off. I
also
saw they
say,
tweeted at halftime.
yeah, it was also a good start, I think, for Aberdeen. The
Mhm.
scoreline doesn't necessarily reflect that,
Yeah.
but I was really, really impressed with Amy Black and Abby Tobin,
Okay.
particularly, specifically. They were missing players,
Hmm.
which also doesn't help when you're playing against the team that won the league last season. I think that Aberdeen definitely going to grow into this quite a
Yeah.
lot, and obviously a lot of young players there that are going to make mistakes, which is what leads to at least the first Hibs goal.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it's a serious error that leads to the goal,
Hmm.
but young players have those in them because they need to make those mistakes to then
Yeah. Of course.
not make them down the line. So
No, Aberdeen are some people I never watched that got the Hibs game, but I'm excited to see Aberdeen this year. I'm quite excited to see what they're up to because they've got a good young squad and I like Scott Booth. And then yeah, the final game of the weekend to mention is Montrose versus Rangers. Rangers beating Montrose 6-1, which again probably something that Aberdeen sounds a lot worse than maybe it was. I think Montrose were 1-0 up, which not a lot
refereeing
of people
controversy.
expected. Some refereeing controversy, a red card. I think it was a last through on goal Dog
Right.
so number.
If you give it as a foul, it's a red card.
Uh
My problem with it is that it's not a foul.
huh. Yeah, that's maybe
Kate
fair.
Wilkinson has been outpaced by Cassie Cowper, has been embarrassed by that fact, and just thrown herself to the ground.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Well, yes, listen, I'm not going to disagree with that. Katie Wilkerson then goes on to score a hat trick of meaningless goals? Question mark? No, they're all
I mean,
important.
the free kick was an absolute banger, by the way.
Yeah, to be fair enough, she's a
Some
good
mention
striker.
that.
She made it to our
Like,
team of the week, by the way, so we can slag her because we've given her props
yeah.
already.
I,
So,
I think she plays for the foul, for the red card, as
uh-huh.
she should as a player in that situation,
Yes,
because
yeah,
she's not getting to that ball,
she's
and I
mainly
think
right.
she
Yeah,
knows she's not getting to that ball.
uh-huh.
It's on the referee for giving the red card, which is where I have the problem with, because I don't think it was a foul.
Yeah, fair.
I really don't. I don't see a significant pullback. I don't see a trip. I
Hmm.
see Cassie Cowper run past Katie Wilkinson, and Katie Wilkinson just go, "Okay,
Yeah, falls
I'm on
over.
the floor now,"
Yeah, she
and
probably
then the
does touch
referee
it. Probably
doesn't even
actually runs
hesitate.
by. Probably actually runs by. She
Yeah,
definitely will
but
touch her,
not
but
enough.
yeah, that's bad. And then, but
I
then
I think
Rangers
it's
obviously.
one where you're screaming at your striker if they do it, because again, it's not given, because
Yeah, you think you could
you've
have got
got,
to
in
that,
my
and
opinion, back yourself to win the ball. I don't think she was going to get there. It was going straight to the keeper, which is another thing to consider, I think. But
yeah, yeah,
I just don't see enough contact in it. Like, it's a contact sport. You're allowed to, run
I
into
get
each
you.
other. There was no. I just don't see a foul. Is my problem with it. The penalty was a stonewall penalty, and
Yes.
I don't know why Montrose seemed to argue that one more than the red card, which I thought was quite funny
Mm.
because it's never not been given.
But yeah, then Rangers kind of like I say, Montrose down to 10, thanks to the penalty. Then it kind of floodgates open a bit, and Rangers go on to score 6, and Katie Wilkinson gets her hat trick, making a top goal scorer in the league from the first weekend. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else we missed from this week of SWPL 1 action that we haven't kind of got any kind of main stories.
Main ones, the usual storylines, isn't it? Kathy McGovern scored, Kate Wilkinson scored,
Yeah, picking up where we left
Hearts and
off. Yeah,
Celtic had a
and
game
then
against each other.
that was tight. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting to say it's the first game week. I mean, we have already predicted the league, so that's funny. But it's again, it kind of shows that there's going to be lots of storylines across the season. So I'm really trying to get myself like limbered up to be prepared to talk about it for the next like 9, 10 months, whatever it is. But yeah, now we get to go on and have the pleasure of also talking about the SWPL 2, which has been very exciting and has been a pretty very SWPL 2 start to the season. So we'll take a quick break and get into that. So yeah, in the SWPL 2, full round of fixtures there as well as they got kicked off. I think the first place you want to start with is in Kilmarnock. My favourites for the title got off to a pretty blistering start, won 6-2 in the end, loads of really good goals. I guess the first kind of place to begin would be all of the stuff around about Sky Stout that happened online in before the game. Obviously, she's incredible young talent from Celtic, signed from Kilmarnock, professional contract, things like that. And then I think if everyone's seen that, ends up getting kind of abuse for nothing really. And then is a 16-year-old girl, so relax. But then goes out and scores a goal, an incredible free kick, gets an assist, makes it into the Halves Touch 5 of the week. So all over, kind of a successful end to her week for her. And I think everyone said it. The best way to kind of shut everyone up is to go out and play incredible football. But I think, as I say, the main story from that is one, the reaction of some of the Killie players was incredible. Like the cat, like Laura McLaughlin putting out a statement, Lucy Burns putting out a wee statement as well, being like, "Don't care, she's one of us. Like we're all obviously supporting Sky Stout, but like very much backed her publicly." And then and then the performance she did, and then it was quite fun to see. I mean, it kind of gets published around everywhere, and everyone kind of makes a big deal out of it. But I think for Sky Stout, it'll be really cool because I was seeing a clip. One of these like Instagram accounts posted the free kick clip, and you had like Miedema and Beth Mead and all that commenting on it, like rocket emoji stuff like that. So for her, that's probably a pretty sweet way to end the week.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's I think of all the clubs for it to happen at, I sort of maybe it shouldn't happen at all, but it's a good thing it happened to someone at Kilmarnock. I think there's a lot of clubs in the league that have supportive players, but
Mm-hmm.
Kilmarnock have so many.
Yeah.
And like speaking to Laura McLaughlin throughout the years we've done this, but at the media event,
Mm-hmm.
the week before it happened, like that she's going to be a great person in the dressing room for their young squad,
Yeah.
and it's something that you get a sense of how uh, just like kind she is
Hmm.
generally,
Hmm.
but like for the whole squad, and I think they've got so many players in that squad now that are like older
Hmm.
players like Laura McLaughlin, like Taylor McGlashan, etc. Um, that can then offer that support where it's needed. And I think this is, it's a shame it's being needed in this way, but it's important that they've got those sort of characters around to help. And I mean, Chris, if it was me, I wouldn't have been playing, and I
Yeah.
don't think anyone could have blamed her for not playing. I think
Yeah.
it's a tough thing. I would have been like, no, no one look at me for the next month.
Yes, but I think that's like the thing
Um,
about the
but
story is
yeah,
that
it's like
from my point of view, obviously, like the story is what it is now. Originally, that's just a great sign-in. That's a great sign-in for Gilly.
mm,
That's kind of the discussion should have been like that. Obviously, they've taken a player out of Celtic Academy who's now proven in that first game that she's a quality footballer. And it kind of again adds to
yeah,
the likes that Killy have had that you mentioned of the good young talent they've got, and that they kind of bring through down there. Another very exciting player to watch down there. So that's fun for us.
yeah, exactly. And it shows the sort of. I think Jim Chapman was speaking about it after the game. He was talking about
Hmm.
the sort of like characters they've got in the squad and things,
Hmm.
and it does show the level of character and probably the level of support that she's had as well. That she has gone out there and it hasn't affected how she's played or anything. Like
Yeah.
she's turned up and everyone's been talking about how impressive her preseason has been.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, now we've seen it because like it was a really good assist. It was a really well weighted ball for
Hmm.
Cara Gray. The free kicks, obviously, like
Yeah, sensational. Yeah.
postage stamp, perfect.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's really impressive. I did want to say, is it maybe a concern for you that this is someone that couldn't make it in Celtic's academy,
Yeah,
considering the lack of players coming through?
genuinely the Celtic Youth Academy crazy because there's a few like players around the leagues who've came through Celtic who are pretty good. Sky Stout, another one. I'm saying that non immediately come to my head, but I'm sure that there are. But you're right. Celtic Youth Academy is the most confusing thing in the world because none of them seem to make it out. But the amount of players that you hear signed from Celtic Academy who then
Mm.
end up being really good, and yeah, an attacking fun winger could be cool to have at Celtic.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I mean,
Um,
Elena Sadiku, not to go back to Celtic, but in terms of youth stuff like Dara Dawson, Elena Sadiku's already said this season that it's unlikely she'll be a main part of the squad, which is like, well, if Dara Dawson, who's been in the squad now for a year, isn't going to be a main part, who knows what's going to happen? But for the
Haley
rest,
Austin's not going to be a main part of Rangers squad, but it's still like a part of their squad. I
yeah,
think
I
that's
know that's the
the
difference.
thing.
But
But to talk about Kelly,
yes,
like
keep it on them.
you know, yeah, it's Jim Chapman. I actually do want to mention this because Jim Chapman was wearing a puffer vest.
The rest legend. Yeah, I think he always does.
It was 25 degrees.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good point.
Everyone else is in shorts.
Maybe
What
not.
are you
Maybe
doing?
not.
Like,
Maybe not out in Kilmarnock. Quite windy.
it was still like hot and
Yeah. No,
sunny.
I can't. Yeah. He's. I don't know.
Because I
Lucky's
saw it and I was
vest.
like, that's crazy. Lucky vest, maybe.
It
I
worked
don't know.
anyway.
I just feel like that's nuts. But he was talking about how the second half was quite disappointing, and
I
it's
love
quite
Jim Chapman.
funny when you hear managers talk about that. And,
Yeah.
you get why, because it's a team that are trying to win the league against a team
Yeah.
that might get relegated, and you understand the context. But they did still score what, three in the second half.
Yeah. They still played well. Yeah.
Abby Robinson scored a round off backflip overhead kick from the halfway line in footage that has been corrupted and can't be found. Because you're looking at me like I'm crazy. Kilmarnock, like they didn't have the recording of the
Right.
first
Okay.
Abby Robinson goal.
So you're just saying that it's
So
a
it must
very
have. It was just so good that it's been
yeah
redacted
probed.
because if they,
Yeah.
yeah,
One of them
if
maybe
they
did
put it
it.
out, the WSL would get no viewers because everyone would go watch
Yes.
Kilmarnock.
A trick play or something that they can't want. They don't want anyone else to see the tactic. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Um, but yeah, so it was Cara Gray and Lucy Burns, the usual suspects from Kilmarnock who are like
Hmm.
all under 19.
Yeah.
Um, doing a really good job. But I will say there were signs of life, I think, for St. Johnson. I think, the fact they scored twice,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
fact that say that Kilmarnock are disappointed by their second half, I
Hmm.
would, St. Johnson should take a lot from that because they are in two very different fights this season.
Yeah. You think so?
And, if this had been 6-0, I don't think we would have been that surprised
No, but for them to
based
get two
on
goals to frustrate,
expectations.
yeah,
So, mhm.
yeah, that's life without
so
Olivia
yeah, so
Hurl as well, who obviously scored a lot of goals for them last season. So yeah,
exactly, yeah. So it's probably a sort of a bit of signs of life of like, they might be competing at a higher level because Kilmarnock are very much one of the favourites of the league.
Yeah, yeah.
Even with the three teams coming down, I don't think it's unrealistic to say that.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's I guess another game to talk about. Speaking about that kind of teams in different fights was the East Fife v Gartcairn game, um, where Gartcairn have a team that it's a couple of seasons in SWPL two now. You'd expect them to be the ones kind of pushing up for promotion, and East Fife having just came up from the championship, but seemed like a very hectic kind of toe to toe game. Gartcairn obviously ended up winning it 3-2, but again, similar to St Johnstone for East Fife, like loads to take from that game. You'd think loads of positives to say. Yeah, Gartcairn are very much an established SCPL two team, and they've kind of gone toe to toe with them. Scored two good goals and stuff like that as well. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of perform for the rest of the season. Obviously, they won the championship, and oftentimes you do see that the winner of the championship tends to do quite well. Not every year, but most years tend to do quite well.
First off, dubstep on the highlights. Gartcairn are bad.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
like heavy dubstep as well. Like I had to turn my volume down, and it wasn't even that high. Um, but
yeah,
yeah, it reminds me sort of like of the Hamilton game
mm-hmm.
for East Fife because newly promoted side going up against someone that's probably going to be in and around mid-table,
Yeah,
aiming for top half, sort of thing, and they've come away with a narrow loss, and I think that's something that you can say, oh, maybe that team, the opposition aren't maybe up to speed yet, but
mm-hmm.
I think they can take a lot of positives from that. I think Liz Anderson, the East Fife manager, is going to be really annoyed by the way they concede the second goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just a mess. Like it's a corner. It's not a good corner
Yeah,
necessarily. They don't get first contact. They don't get second contact. They don't get third contact. Eventually, the ball goes in the net. I'm not sure how many touches there is after that, but they're all Gartcairn.
mm-hmm.
So she'll be annoyed to concede in that way because that's one of those things where it's like if you're going to concede in those kind of games, make it, make sure that you're putting yourself in positions where you're conceding from really good play and not
Yeah,
from your own mistakes. Um, but definitely not a bad result for East Fife. I think
no,
a
definitely.
long season ahead, so you're not looking at a loss on the opening day being going to be what's
No,
causing
definitely not.
relegation. So yeah, if they can keep playing like that, they'll definitely pick up points against the teams that were in SWPL2 last season, and then it's going to be a case of can Stirling Uni also do that? Um,
Mm-hmm.
they had a much tougher test against Spartans, so it's harder to judge that
Yeah. Well, yeah. Speaking
right
about that, I
now.
guess the other games you mentioned there, Spartans v Southern Uni. Southern Uni, Southern Uni's home. So, but Spartans beat them 3-0 in the end. But I think listening back to some of the stuff that Now Robbins was saying post match, he seemed to be quite positive about it. I think probably similar to what you're saying there at East Fife, like probably quite disappointed in the way they conceded some of the goals. But taking a lot of positives that for the most part they kind of went. They put up a fight against Spartans, and as you say, Spartans are going to be a team that go for promotion, if not win the league. And Stirling Uni's aim is to stay in the league so they can compete with them. That's a good sign for them. And the other games we had, Birmingham Thistle beat Livingston 2-0, which is quite an interesting start to the season. Obviously, those are two teams who will be there or thereabouts, probably, maybe, or on the kind of bottom end of that kind of playoff spots. Livingston maybe a bit further off, but Thistle did well there. And then the final game, which was a kind of replay of the SWPL 1 relegations from last season, we had Dundee United, Queen's Park, and Dundee United won 4-2. And I'm wondering when the last time Dundee United won a competitive game was. Which sounds harsh. I don't mean that it sounded as harsh as it did.
I wish you'd have asked me before we were recording so I could have checked. But
but
I
it would have been. They didn't
imagine,
win very many games
surely,
last season. Was my point. So
you know what's sad? It probably was last time they played Queens Park.
yeah, that's maybe true.
Like genuinely, it probably
Maybe true.
was, um, which isn't great
No, but it's a good
for
strong
Queens
result.
Park or them.
Yeah, for Queen's Park, it's a difficult. I mean, conceding four and stuff, but for Dundee United,
Got to give Danny Findlay her flowers for she's taken a year out of football.
mm-hmm.
This is her first competitive game since returning.
Yeah,
Goal and assist.
yeah, not bad, not bad.
Like ran the show. Was a hugely influential
Mm-hmm.
figure in them actually winning this game.
Yeah,
So yeah, absolutely. Like what you can ask for a better start, really, or a better return, I guess, than that. And that's
no, well, yeah,
good to see because she was so great last time she was SFL too,
mm-hmm.
and basically even while she was at Hearts, really, but her first spell at Dundee United was like
It was brilliant. Yeah, I
crazy
remember that.
stuff,
Yeah,
and it was like ridiculous volleys from 40 yards out kind of stuff. So
she's a really good
we
striker.
need that back.
Yeah, and the SWPL 2 is going to deliver that, man. These results have just made my head even more fried. Like, even me predicting it all last week, and kind of was just making it up as I went along, but this has made me even more be like, what the hell? So
Yeah.
we are along for the
Also,
ride.
loads of screamers this week.
Yes, so keep an eye out for
Like,
that.
so many of the goals were unreal, especially what's now gone down as a Jess Broderick on goal, but Stacey Papadopoulos is worldy against Aberdeen,
So I know we will get a
which I
chance to
don't
talk
know.
about Hibs this season, Matt. Don't worry, don't worry.
I know, but it's just really funny. She thought that Ailey Adams had headed it past the keeper
Mm-hmm.
and sprints faster than I've seen her sprint at any point during like an hip stop to tap the ball in while it's on the line. And it's like, why are you trying to steal a goal off of your teammate at that
That's
point?
funny.
But it's gone down as an own goal
It's a
because
shame.
the SWPL goals adjudication panel clearly are anti-Australian.
I think that's the only reasonable explanation there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just it's a Stacey Papadopoulos goal. I will die on this hill.
maybe we need to
Yeah,
make our own like goal stats of how's your touch, and that can be
yeah.
the unofficial SWPL standards.
I also think that as a general rule, if you can rule a goal as a goal for someone and not an own goal, you should, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there should be more like, yeah, no one wants your own goal, so why are you trying to make it?
Yeah,
Yeah, be a thing. I
like
agree.
she clearly wanted the goal.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
just give for it. Sporting integrity, though, Matt, that's important.
we can't tell if the ball's over the line or not. It's one camera angle at
Wait,
Meadowbank.
there wasn't goal line tech at Meadowbank?
There should
There
be.
should be.
That'd be hilarious. Can you imagine, like,
The little camera running
just
along the track, like 20 meters away
yeah.
from the goal. Yeah, that's funny. Well, that's kind of, I guess, everything. Another week, or the first week of SCPL 1 action didn't disappoint. Kind of ran through it all there. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be here every week covering all things SCPL 1 and the national team when they get back to playing. So if you like it, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter,
And all
Substack,
things SFL too.
and all things SCPL too. Sorry, just add that in that order. No. But yeah, so make sure you follow us. Make sure you're subscribed to our Spotify, Apple. We're on YouTube now as well, as you see. Nice, lovely video, which if we were better at video editing, could do something with. So maybe help us out if you know anybody. But anyway, we will see you all again next week.